Hello and welcome back to Chicken for Breakfast, the podcast where we have all the answers to one very simple question.
What's cooking?
I'm Magic.
And I'm Max.
What are we doing today, Max?
We're obviously a little quieter today than we normally are.
Yeah.
But we're talking. We're going back to the fundamentals.
We're going all the way back to the basic fundamentals of life and perspective to, well, us.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Magic, and let's get into it. That was like my old intro. That was kind of nostalgic.
Yeah.
We're even wearing the OG shirt.
Right?
Like it's kind of, we got like the old logo and the new logo.
Right.
It's like crazy up in here, bro.
Exactly.
Where's your shirt?
It's in the wash at home. I've been wearing it.
To be fair, I didn't tell you to wear it.
Right.
Today I should have been like, hey, bro,
Find your shirt.
find your shirt. Let's get it running.
Yeah.
But we did not do that. That would have been solid coordination on our part. Missed opportunity. But yeah, today we want to talk about some topics that we used to talk about. Kind of bring them back to life and see how much has changed since those episodes. So if you have been following us a very long time, you know that this has been moving for about, I don't know, since about September 2020.
Yeah.
So we are over a year into this podcast now. Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And so if you're an OG, leave a comment down below how long you've been watching. Please. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
Well, our first video together was in September. And I've been here since October.
Yeah.
Middle of October.
Wow, you're cooking.
I know.
And that was the worst decision of my career. Letting this guy join the podcast. I'm just kidding. It was a pretty solid decision. Welcome aboard. All aboard, explorers.
All aboard, explorers.
I love how you did that, but tried to be quiet about it, so it didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, let's get into it. So Max, the very first episode I ever did was horrible.
It was?
It was horrible. I had to do it for a school project at OMF. And I wrote a script, and I read it. And that's the one thing you don't do.
I'm going to call you out on something. You said, let's get into it twice. You went to the intro twice.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
bro.
you did. You said, I'm your host, Magic. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I said, let's get into the conversation.
Oh, okay.
This guy.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be sorry. Anyways,
Yeah, so when did you start?
So, see, now I've lost my train of thought. You should not have done that.
September 2020?
Oh,
and you
yeah,
said
so
it was
my first episode, yeah.
Yeah.
My first episode of Chicken for Breakfast was me explaining why I was doing a podcast and how much fun I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And it is fun. It's definitely very fun. And one of the big things about it is I'm watching to see if they're going to silence me. And one of the big things about it is I wrote a script. So I had a whole script. And it was very interesting.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of feedback. It was one of my most popular episodes at the time. It was I shared it to everyone. First episode got 57 listens. I was
wow.
Dang, we're cooking. And then my second episode got 4. And I was oh shoot. But yeah, we used to talk about a lot of cool things. And the one that I want to talk about today, there's actually two.
Yeah.
There's actually two that I want to talk about today. And they are well, the episode would have been called Success and Happiness, and how they work together.
Yeah.
Right, and the other one was called R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Yeah, the Aretha Franklin song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to talk about those two things today because they've really been on my mind lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with success and happiness.
Let's start with success and happiness. So, what is your definition of success?
Winning something that you've never won before. Completing a task that you've always wanted to complete.
Okay.
Like finishing your bucket list.
Right.
And that's pretty much it.
That's really much it. So just being new.
Yeah.
Just accomplishing things.
Yeah.
That's success. See, because I think that success is... Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I agree. That's a solid definition.
Thank you.
It's a great definition. When I first started this podcast, I said this podcast will be successful if I can just make one person smile,
Yeah.
if I can make one person laugh, if I can make one single person enjoy the moment,
Right.
I'll feel successful and I'll be happy with that. And I think we do that. You know, I think we have a pretty solid podcast here. And we're always messing around, doing fun stuff, and like
Always.
people like that.
Right.
I hope. I hope. But for real, like I feel like this podcast has served the purpose that it serves.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have to be. We don't need 100,000 views.
Right.
We don't need 800 sponsors. Right. Like we could just be chilling
Right.
if we had one single person watching every single week, and we do.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of your family watches, a lot of my family watches. We have some people who aren't either of our family, like they're consistent watchers. Like we have a solid community started,
Yeah.
and that's successful to me. But do we measure success by happiness? This was like the whole thing. Like, do we measure our happiness by success, or do we measure success by our happiness? Right? Because like I can say, I think that this podcast is successful because I'm happy that other people are happy.
Right.
But then someone else might come along and they might be like, hey man, your podcast is not successful because people don't really know it.
Right.
It's not a big popular thing. So like where do those two tie off? I know it's like we have our biased opinions, but like
Right.
what are you thinking?
I mean, from where you and me started in October, we've gotten a lot bigger,
That's true.
a lot bigger, more videos, more views. I mean, just from there, that's very successful.
Yeah.
It was like, how many subscribers when we started?
I think before you came along there was like 22.
And then as we started doing more, we're up to what?
I think we're at 61, 62 now.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that doesn't sound like a huge growth time,
Exactly.
but it is. It really is. It really is.
From October to March, February.
That's pretty solid growth.
Yeah.
And I mean, we consistently keep going too. Like we have, I think our best short was actually 1.7 views.
1.9.
1.9 now.
Yeah.
Dang, we're almost at 2K.
I know, right?
But yeah, that's crazy stuff, man. It's crazy stuff. And it's like I genuinely, and I've always said this too. It's like my best episodes are when there's other people on. Like I can't really do solo podcasting. I think that's a really hard thing to do. In fact, I don't know how many solo podcasters are super successful, and I know there's a few,
Right.
but I don't know them. But solo podcasting is hard because you don't have anything to bounce off of.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that you being here and having guests and whatever on the show, I think it really helps.
Yeah.
Really helps keep things interesting, keep it smooth, and I would argue that that's success. I would argue that that's successful.
It's very.
But do you think it's more important to be happy with your success, or do you think it's more important to use success to be happy? Wait, did that make sense?
No.
Nice.
Nice.
So, does happiness define success, or does success define happiness?
Well, we've been growing, right? And by the views, by the subscribers, we've been seeing more of a trend, so we get more excited to do it, and we come up with more ideas that are bigger and better
Right.
than what we have. So, I mean, I think that success, our happiness comes from our success, because that's how we get more views or like more ideas going. Because like, oh, we have something going here. We can actually do this.
Wow, that's kind of deep. It's like you just look at that face of like so proud of yourself. That's funny. Yeah, I think of what you just said is passion. I think if you have passion, you're successful.
Right.
Passion is also like you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
So, moral of this whole story is that I feel like we're happy with where we're at, and that's what makes us our success. And we're passionate about it, and that makes us thrive for better success,
Right.
to bring better happiness. So I think it's more of like there's no one definite answer. I think it's like a cycle,
Yes.
and that's kind of what you just said. You're rocking this episode. Oh,
Calm down.
calm down, calm down. I need to calm down. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
It's like that old. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there was this old like Karen lady in a car. I don't even remember. It was a solid video. Anyways,
Yeah.
so let's talk about respect here for a second, because this is something that I've really been struggling with understanding how other people work in the regard of respect. Because like I don't respect this guy at all. This guy's so not respectable.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But I've noticed a huge trend being like a student, teacher, whatever else. Like I'm technically like I'm your boss, I'm your teacher. Like it's crazy.
You're my
right?
friend. You're my mentor.
Stop it, dude. Anyways,
Stirring the pot, man.
Yeah, but I think that there's like a respect level and of all things. Like I think we should respect each other, and we can't respect others until we respect ourselves.
Exactly.
But one thing I've noticed about like just being a teacher is that some people don't know how to respect others by respecting themselves.
Right.
So it's like I was taught respect in terms of like, you know, there's basic like, you know, using basic language, using basic
Manners.
Like when you shake someone's hand,
Look at me.
look them in the eye. When someone walks up to you and you're sitting down and you're meeting somebody, you stand up and you shake their hand.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna shake their hand, be respectful and like do a solid handshake.
Right.
Like that's a solid handshake.
You need to relax.
You need to relax.
Right.
Calm down. You tell me to calm down.
We have some fun next time.
You have kids in the car. My kids can't hear me. But yeah, I was always taught respect is important.
Yeah.
Respect is a big thing. And people lack it nowadays. People are always just lacking respect. I'm
Always.
telling you. It's just so crazy how that works.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I work in fast food still, besides going to school.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started
my
on fast
goodness,
food, dude.
What was it? They'll come in and they'll just like, they'll order their food and then they'll like look at me funny when I call them up because that's.
Well, you are funny looking. No, I'm just
Like,
kidding.
so like one time at work, these people came in and they ordered sliders and they had cheese on them. And I called their order number, they came up to grab it, and they looked at me like they were about to yell at me because they didn't see the cheese on the food. I'm like, it's on the bottom. And then they decided to, because they couldn't see it at first, when they left all their trays and all their garbage everywhere.
Right.
So it's just like, I'm just trying to work. I'm just trying to make a living. And like, they're just like, we have money.
Yeah.
We're gonna not, yeah.
Dude, I understand that whole thing perfectly because I worked at McDonald's for 3 years and I eventually became a manager, and like there's so much disrespect to workers, and not even like fast food, but just like any retail, any like
It's like
customer service
Exactly.
reps. Like people in the front lines are just always just going
And
nuts.
those people, like, they don't understand, like, people could possibly be making money to pay bills, afford things for their family, or just because they need the money for themselves.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be real with you for a second. If you have such a big issue with something that happens in a fast food drive-through, like this just became
You don't
an
gotta
issue.
walk up to the window. Like, yeah, dining rooms gonna, like, all right, COVID times. COVID, like, dining rooms were closed because no one wanted COVID germs in their dining room.
Right.
People would, instead, where I worked, they would come up to the drive-through window and knock on it,
Oh, we had that too, dude.
and just to get what they wanted.
Which I actually respect that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we aren't legally allowed to do that. Just so everyone knows, you aren't allowed to do that at
Yeah.
fast food restaurants, but we did do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
like,
go into any
they couldn't
further
have come
detail.
in, like,
my
we-
lawyer said I'm not allowed to self-incriminate myself like that, so I'm not
Right.
gonna tell you what I did. But we did do things like that.
And so, and
But like truck drivers,
Mm-hmm.
they can't really like do anything during COVID times because like they can't go through the drive-through and they can't come inside.
right,
So like, is that really fair to truck drivers? No, they have to walk up to the window.
Right.
So to me, bringing it back to respect, it's like I respect your job
right,
and I respect your business and I respect that like life sucks right now, right? So that's helping people out. That's what it comes down to.
right. And then when things did start to open back up, people would be like, "Well, this place is open in the dining room, but this place isn't. Why is that?" And then people,
Oh yeah,
they would yell at the front desk. I'm like,
that was kind of wild though. Like some places would open faster than others.
Well, like it's not that. It's like I'm talking about like some places. Like when I worked at Raising Cane's, and where I worked, they were closed. The dining room was closed to eat in. But like at one point, they opened it back up, and people could come back in to order their food and then go and sit on the patio.
So they couldn't eat inside.
Yeah.
They could order inside.
Yeah. So one time, this one gentleman, came in, and he's like, "Why can't we eat in here?" The other restaurant that was a couple miles away from us was open inside. And then our manager came out and said they're not open inside either. They can only do takeout. And then they got into an argument. And then I was yelled at 5 times that day by customers. And
Dang.
somebody else said, "I'm going to do this for you because I'm tired of you getting yelled at by people."
That sounds like a fun day, dude.
It was a great day. Fun times.
So one of my, and I don't know, we're kind of like, we're off tracking, but it's a fun conversation. I'm really enjoying
it's
this.
respect.
So one time I had a guy, I was fresh out the game. I was like 16 or 17. I was working at McDonald's, and this guy was like trying to get me fired.
Oh.
Like it was like a huge thing because like he ordered a sandwich and it was wrong.
Right.
And then I fixed it. Like I personally went back and
Right.
fixed it. Oh, I know what it was. There was no lettuce on it.
Oh my goodness.
Right, so then I took the sandwich and I was like, I'm just gonna put lettuce on it. And they were like, that's cool. So I went and I put lettuce on it. And then they took it back to the table and they let it sit there for like 10 minutes. And then they came up later and they were like, dude, I was trying to eat this and it's cold. And I was like, well, it was just sitting on the table for 10 minutes. Of course it's gonna be cold, right? And I was like, okay, that's cool. But like, there was no reasoning with anyone.
Right.
He was just like, dude, this is cold. This is the second problem I've had. I'm gonna make sure you get fired. And I was so flustered. I don't know why. It was a bad day.
What was it? When I was working one time, it's like at Cane's, they have the motto, the customer's always right.
Right.
And I was making the food one day.
Well, that's like a normal.
Well, yeah, but one day I was making the food, and they ordered like an extra thing, and I gave it to them. And they come back around, and they say, we didn't get it. And then we had to give it to them. Like, I was like, bro, they already
The
got it.
audacity, bro. People, okay, listen. This whole thing, and I love this conversation, but I want to bring this back to a different aspect of respect because this is something that, like, it really drives me crazy. When you are driving on a road, respect the roadway.
Right.
All right. If I am waiting at a green light, and there is a turning lane, not a passing lane. It is a turning lane. It's not a merging lane.
You don't go into the turning lane and move.
Do not fly by me on the turning lane and then dart back into the same lane that I'm in just because there's a red light happening.
Right.
Okay. Like when people get pulled over, and I there's a lot of politics and police work nowadays and whatever else, right?
Right.
But like, we're not getting into that because there's a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think that everything comes down to like a basic respect of like, do you have time to deal with all these stupid problems? Like, do you have like, can I just give up a little bit of my freedom for everyone to be happy? Like, do I have to come at you because you work at Cane's? Like, yeah, maybe I was missing a chicken. Like, this is how I do fast food. This is how I do anything, right? I go to McDonald's on a regular basis. Most mornings, actually. I'm not gonna lie. It's a terrible habit, and I failed.
Iced coffee king right here.
Iced coffee king right here.
Brown.
Nice. Thank you.
He's brown.
Thank you. So, when I go to McDonald's 4 to 5 times,
Right.
I get 2 sausage egg muffins 4 to 5 times. One of those sandwiches does not have egg on it.
It's just.
It's expensive, and people are like, well, don't you care about money? First of all, no, I don't care that much about money. Second of all, I've been there. I've seen that like how easy it is to mess things up like that.
Right.
Like the wrapper literally looks the same. Like
Exactly.
things happen, right?
Yeah,
So am I gonna come after you because you forgot a chicken tender? Am I gonna really come in and act like you're the worst guy in the world because of a chicken tender? No.
Or a piece
I
of
probably
toast.
didn't need that chichicken tender in the first
Right.
place. Like
And
I can
it's-
live without that extra chicken
And
tender.
here's another thing. What is it? What did I say?
Shout out to all you workers out there while he's gathering your thoughts.
Yeah,
Shout out.
so-
You're appreciated.
All right. So like one time, like when I worked at Cane's, we were so short-staffed that like they didn't have enough money to pay us because we were working like there was like only like 10 of us on shift, like 10 of us as a staff.
Damn.
So I was working like 5 days a week. So like they bumped up the prices to start paying us more, just so they could, because like what we were bringing in and costs.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's marketing.
I started at like normal minimum wage, like $9.50 or something like that. By the time I was done working there, $15. I could have a $6 raise in the span of 3 months because of how much money we were making and how much we didn't get. How much?
That's kind of crazy though.
Exactly.
That's actually like you don't work there now.
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So where does that fall into respect? I mean, it's a fun story.
It's just like, I mean, like all these other places, like, yeah, you're paying like $16 an hour because like there's no one who wants to work. And just like, just think of the people who started working there like longer before you and didn't get a raise, and then when you start, you're up like $6 than you were before. Like, let's say they started at like $8.25, and then like when you start, you're at $9.50.
Well, I mean that's a normal like inflation thing. That's a normal thing that happens, and
Right.
I get the frustration because, like, we always feel entitled as people.
Mm-hmm.
We always just feel entitled. And I do want to kind of wrap this up with one final thought, but it is interesting that you say that because, like, I remember when I was a manager, I got bumped up to a certain wage, and then I found out that a shift leader who hadn't worked there nearly as long as I had also needed the same wage. But I was like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
But as I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I respect that because they're here for a different reason.
Right.
I have to believe that they're here for a different
And
reason.
that's another thing. It's like people who like show up same time as everybody. Like you opening. I was there where I work now. I was at the opening for everyone. People who are shift leads now, who are just regular crew members, are acting like they're regular crew members and not being a shift lead. But they're getting paid more than the regular crew members, and they're just being lazy.
Well, that's
Just like,
that's just how life works.
but they get promoted so fast that like people don't go into hindsight of like looking, oh, do they really deserve it? But instead they just go,
Yeah, I
you're
feel
this
that.
now.
I just think that happens.
Right.
I just think that happens a lot, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Final thought of the day is we all live here. We all live on the same place. We're all people. We're all just living.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So next time you're in McDonald's drive-thru and they forget your large fry and they
Or any
accidentally give you a medium, any drive-thru. Next time you're just chilling. Next time you have a problem with someone else, stop and think about that perspective. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like religion, politics, literally anything that we do. Anytime there's a conflict, we feel more important than the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've really noticed is like in this industry, people are always like, we're always having conversations. We're always trying to create new things. And some people can't respect other people's opinions.
Right.
It's like my opinion or my idea is better than yours. My opinion is better than yours. So let's do my way. Some people
Right.
are not cooperative because they don't know how to respect other people.
Right.
And like to me, that's always blown my mind. Like I was taught respect. You seem like you were taught respect
Oh yeah.
pretty well. We're respecting people out here. So I challenge everyone listening this week. I know this is a little bit different. Like
Yeah.
we normally don't do like heavy topics like this.
Right.
But just think about like how happy are you? How successful do you feel? Do you respect other people? And can we tie all these things together? Right? Because I feel like I'm respectful because I know how hard it is to get somewhere.
Right.
I'm respectful. I respect other people. And I work hard. We work hard on this podcast. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy the amount that we're doing.
Right.
And like, we can say that we have a deadline coming up and then we might miss it.
Right.
Right? I mean,
But,
I feel
it's
bad,
just-
but like, there's a lot in there. There's a lot that happens.
And obviously there's like we might miss a deadline. It's like, oh, because we got caught up in something that we needed to do before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like we're not trying to delay it. We're just trying
I'm
to
just chilling.
Yeah.
And it's up to everyone. And it's like, yeah, when you have a fan base and it's like it's a job and whatever else, you know, you gotta hit that deadline. Like a client, you gotta hit that deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like a level of just like, hey man, I really just respect the grind. I really just respect what's going on.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, by the way, for being on the podcast
I just
and just
appreciate you
chilling.
for letting me.
Yes, sir. We've got some guests coming up here in the next few weeks. Some things to look forward to. I think we have 2 or 3 lined up right now. You might be a part of those. Actually, we might try to put something over here. If you're watching from this camera right here, we might try to do a round table, even though the table is square. We might try to do something like that. So we are working on some stuff, and we thank you, whether you've been here for since the very first episode on Anchor alone, whether you just started tuning in on YouTube a week ago, or maybe this is just your first video and we're talking about something crazy. Regardless, thank you very much for tuning in. I like chicken for breakfast.
I love it too.
At the end of the day, we hope you will too.